This time on Rat and Cat, the most amazing wilderness survival stories and mysteries from spring 2019. Welcome to Rat and Cat, where we search, survive, and explore. I'm Nikia. I'm fascinated by wilderness survival stories and mysteries, so I thought it'd be interesting to look back at some of the most amazing survival stories that happened this spring. There are so many that I'm just going to give you the basics on each, but I'll post links to the full stories in the description below, along with some links to some additional stories. So let's get started with animal attacks. On Vancouver Island, BC, a cougar attacked a 7-year-old boy in his backyard. His quick-thinking mom saved the boy by prying him from the cougar's jaws with her bare hands. And in Colorado, a man survived a cougar attack by strangling it. In Australia, a woman survived an attack by a pet deer after unsuccessfully trying to save her husband from the attack. The man had gone out to feed the buck when it turned on him and killed him. And in Independence Pass, Colorado, a moose charged into a group of people and attacked Alfred Braun of Aspen. The 78-year-old man fought it off with his ski pole until his daughter's blue heeler distracted the moose and led it away from the group. April 29, also in Colorado, a man with a dog on a leash got into a 10-minute standoff with a cow moose and its calf. The moose then charged the man and his dog, knocking the man over and causing some minor injuries. The animals were tranquilized and relocated. In Montana, a 17-year-old teenager heard a thump behind him and turned around to see a grizzly bear charging at him. The bear pinned him against a tree, then briefly backed off, allowing the boy to fall to his knees and crawl between the trees in an attempt to protect his head and vital areas. While on the ground, the teen reached over his shoulder and deployed his bear spray, and the animal fled. In Pennsylvania, 50-year-old Melinda LeBron said a bear attacked her after she went out the back door with her dog for a smoke. The bear bit her and rolled her nearly 90 yards. The woman threw a stick, hoping the bear would chase it. At that point, the bear walked off. Back up in Alaska, a Sitka woman and her female husky shepherd mix Rascal, along with a friend's golden retriever, were descending the trail on Mount Verstovia when they rounded a switchback and encountered a large male bear coming up. Linda Bankin said that Rascal immediately got between the bear and herself and forced it to turn back into the brush. Rascal was killed by the bear, allowing the woman to get away and live. Toddlers Survive. In North Carolina, a missing 3-year-old survived for 2 days by hanging out with a bear, he claims. Casey Hathaway was found a quarter-mile away from home, 40 to 50 yards deep into the woods, soaking wet, cold, and tangled in thorn bushes. Rescuers waded through nearly waist-deep water to get to the toddler. And a 22-month-old Kentucky toddler survived in the woods alone for 3 days after also wandering from his front yard. He was about 1,800 feet from his home. Snow survival. Michelle Richin was stranded for a week in snow and mud in rural Utah. Fortunately, she was prepared. Richin travels with survival gear and had enough food and water in her SUV to last another week. Without cell phone service, she decided to stay put and spent her time collecting wood and making fires. A small plane eventually spotted her. An Oregon man and a dog survived 5 days trapped in their vehicle on a snowy mountain road by staying put and eating taco sauce. And this guy also survived an avalanche while snowboarding, and so did this guy. And 3 snowmobilers buried in an avalanche at Teton Pass, Wyoming survived. This guy also survived when snow from his roof buried him, but he was able to poke his arm through the surface. He was found about an hour and a half later, unconscious but alive. Also, a man and his teenage daughter survived when an avalanche came down a mountain and buried them next to their barn. Afraid of heights. Here are some incredible falls. A survivor of California's Camp Fire now also survived a 50-foot fall off Table Mountain, California. She was climbing with her kids beside a waterfall when she slipped. Then a 23-year-old climber survived a 150-foot fall down a jagged rock face in the Crowder's Mountain State Park in North Carolina. And in Guyana, a woman survived a fall over the Tumatamari waterfall at Region 8 following a boat mishap. I'm not sure how tall this waterfall is, but it's pretty epic. Then a guy fell 70 feet into a volcano in Hawaii and survived. He He climbed over a metal guardrail overlooking the crater when the edge collapsed. Water survival. A UK woman was rescued 10 hours after falling off a cruise ship in the Adriatic Sea at night. 46-year-old Kay Longstaff apparently survived by swimming the whole time. Also, a Glendale woman was bit by a shark while vacationing in Hawaii. The shark knocked her out of her kayak, then bit her several times. She pulled herself into her kayak, and then a nearby canoe team picked her up and took her to safety. On the other end of the globe, a man was knocked from a boat near New Zealand and survived for more than 6 hours by tying the legs of his jeans, turning them into a flotation device. And in Tanzania, a man survived for 40 hours in the engine room of a capsized ferry. Desert survival. 72-year-old Ann Rogers survived 9 days lost in an Arizona desert after her car broke down. She survived by drinking pond water and eating plants. Rescuers eventually spotted a sign she made of sticks and branches that she used to spell the word help on the ground. In Argentina, a 5-year-old boy survived in the desert for 24 hours by drinking from a stream and eating grass in an area where wild pumas roam. Quicksand. Well, you may have thought quicksand was a myth, but it's not. 34-year-old Ryan Osmond spent 2 wintry days caught in quicksand in Zion National Park this February. Traveling the subway route of the Left Fork Trail of North Creek, Osmond found himself in what he described as a huge puddle of concrete that seemed to dry instantly. He sunk to his waist as his friends tried to pull him out. Eventually, they left him to get help, and almost immediately the weather changed to snow. 2 days later, help arrived, and it took park rangers 2 hours to free him. Non-survival stories worth mentioning. A Texas woman survived a 5-day bath after getting trapped in her tub. She used hot water to keep her warm. And a New Jersey man survived a cobra bite, but he was fined because his bedroom was full of poisonous snakes. A 20-month-old baby fell 6 stories from an apartment building in Seattle, Washington, landed on a car, and survived. And a 6-year-old girl survived a terrifying fall from a 26-story tall building in China. I guess an awning broke her fall. Then an Alabama woman survived flying in her home after it was picked up by a tornado. The ride lasted for about 10 seconds before the house was set down in her neighbor's driveway. And 63-year-old farmer Kurt Kaser cut off his leg with a penknife after it got caught in an auger. Then he crawled to the nearest phone for help. It wasn't his first brush with an auger. Prior to this incident, his other foot was injured in a similar accident. And finally, wilderness mysteries. In western North Carolina, there have been multiple Bigfoot sightings. But local police asked citizens to stop calling the sightings in because they all seem to come from an 8-foot wooden statue of a Bigfoot standing off the road on someone's country property. It has red marbles for eyes that reflect car headlights as they pass, giving them an eerie glow. Then the body of a 24-year-old man who went missing in Alaska last October was found April 27 floating down the Johnson River, ending part of the mystery of what happened to the young man, while Sealy Keene disappeared with his boat last fall on a fishing trip. In North Carolina, a mysterious beast attacked and killed 77-year-old teacher Brenda Hamilton in mid-February. The unknown animal's DNA continues to puzzle law enforcement. And then there's the mysterious case of the Kamloops Lake Monster in British Columbia, Canada. A large creature was spotted swimming swiftly across the lake. It's suspected that it might be a large white sturgeon, but sturgeon are bottom feeders, and so it's highly unlikely that sturgeon would be swimming on the surface of the lake. I don't know. What do you think it is? If you like wilderness survival stories and mysteries, you might also enjoy this video on wilderness mysteries of the Pacific Northwest. And tell us your survival story in the comments below. Until next time, I'm Nikia, and this is Rat and Cat. Get out there, be safe, and enjoy the wild.